Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Fade to Field, a Seven Oracles original. I am your Oracle Arumula, aka Coach Gene Clemons, here with you again. Chris James, CJ, he's not with us today. He's handling business out there, so I'm holding it down. He'll be back next week, hopefully. God willing, that's how it always goes. Make sure that you go over to predictionmarketpicks.com. That's where you can see all of the Seven Oracles content. That is our site where you need to come and sub and do all the good stuff with. That's Prediction Markets Pick. Make sure you're going over to the newsletter and check out the newsletter. You know what? You should check out the newsletter, because on that newsletter, I talked about the Los Angeles Lakers making a late season run to get over a certain win total. And at the time, a lot of people thought I was capping. But if you look what they've been doing, they're inching closer and closer and closer. I would talk more about it, but we've got an action-packed day-to-day talking about college basketball. I don't want to hold it up, but you should go over to the Substack, subscribe to the newsletter so you could get that every single day, and check out that newsletter that I wrote that had the Lakers in there. I appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get started with our questions today. And the first question is simple. Who's the next head basketball coach at UNC? Currently, the head basketball coach at UNC is open, and a lot of people have been talking about who's going to be the next head basketball coach at UNC. A lot of the names that we're hearing so far, trading. Billy Donovan leads the way. He is trading at 45%. That's 1.93 x your money. That means you're getting 93 cents on your dollar if you decide to go that way. Tommy Lloyd, the head coach of Arizona, is trading at 33%. That is 2.89x. That's exactly $1.89 for every dollar that you invest. Ben McCallum, the head coach at Iowa, is trading at 18.7x or 5%. Dusty May at 13.4x. And that's where I want to stop at, because Tommy Lloyd for Arizona and Dusty May for Michigan, they both play each other, right? They both play each other. And it could be, if the rumors are correct, right? If the rumors are correct, we could be looking at the next head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels in that game, going up against each other. The guy that loses could be the guy who ends up as the next head coach at North Carolina. Well, I know a lot of you are probably thinking to yourself, well, why would somebody leave their school to go to North Carolina if they're already just one step away from a championship? And here's why. For as much as Arizona is a basketball school, as much as Arizona has had a ton of success in basketball, they're not a basketball blue blood. They're not a basketball blue blood. I've talked about this with a friend of mine who passed away, the legendary Coach Whit LeJour, who I used to do Zebra Stripes podcast with. And in there, we talked about the teams that are just the next tier underneath, and that's where I think we put Arizona at, the new, one of the new blue bloods, right? But it's not a blue blood program. It's also hard to compete out there in the West Coast with everything else that's going on the West Coast. North Carolina, there's only one thing going on, baby, and that's basketball. They don't care about them football teams like that. They don't care about all of that other stuff. They care about basketball and basketball only. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, Tommy Lloyd decide, hey, you know what? Arizona is great, but I need to move somewhere where it's going to be basketball and basketball only. And I don't have to fight for competition. I don't have to fight for attention all the time. I can just go out and do my thing. I think that's something that gets undervalued a lot. And for Dusty May, it just makes sense. Michigan is a football school. It doesn't matter how much you have it popping in basketball. You remember the Fab Five? The Fab Five was all the rage. They had the world in a headlock, and yet still everything was basketball for them. So I would not be surprised if Dusty May decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to North Carolina and I'm going to ride it out. Here's the thing you have to remember, though. Whoever goes to North Carolina, and Kenny Smith talked about that, North Carolina is not a stepping stone job. North Carolina is not a job you get bored with and then you decide you want to go somewhere else, right? North Carolina is the retirement job. North Carolina is the place that you spend the next 20 years at if you don't get fired, right? It's the place you spend the next 20 years at and you retire, the next 15 years at and you retire. And so if Dusty May isn't thinking about, hey, I want to be here until I'm in my 60s and retire here, then you don't go to North Carolina. If Tommy Lloyd's not thinking like that, then you don't go to North Carolina. But here's the problem with Tommy Lloyd. Tommy Lloyd is just not enough juice in it. Dusty May at 13.4x means that you're getting $12.40 for your dollar, right? Ben McCollum, the head coach at Iowa, you're getting $17.70 investment for your or return for your dollar if he takes that job. To me, it's worth risking $10 to possibly get 10x or 12x, and 17x your money back. There's no value to me in Billy Donovan when you're getting less than your money back, like less than double, or not even less than double, less than just making your money, right? There's no value in Tommy Lloyd unless you know that they are absolutely positively for sure getting the job. Then you go big, you bet big, you put 1,000 units in order to get back 970 units because you're sure. But we're not sure. Nobody knows unless there's insider trading, right? Nobody knows. So it's a coin flip. Well, I'm going to flip my coin on the 13.4x or the 18.7x. That's just kind of how it goes. So I would sprinkle something on Ben McCollum and Dusty May. Dusty May, I think, would be a great pick because now you are at a school where basketball is top dog. This isn't FAU where nobody really cares about the sports. But if they cared about the sports, they care more about football than they would about basketball. This isn't Michigan where, yeah, they care about basketball. They want basketball to be good, but they really want football to be good. That's where everything starts. That's where everything ends. So, like, I look at both of those jobs and I say, man, if you can get to North Carolina where it's the end-all, be-all, boom, that's the place you retire from. And a guy like Ben McCollum, a guy who has done it at the D2 level, has now been successful at Iowa in his first season. Hey, you might have looked around at Iowa, you say, hey, this is a Big Ten school. It's a football school first. It's always going to be a football school first. It doesn't matter how good I do. I want to go to a place where it's basketball and everything else, right? It's basketball and it's everything else. At 18.7, I'm willing to roll the dice on that. Let's get to the next question. The next question is, who's the women's NCAA tournament winner? Really? Wow, we're just going to get heavy into it right now, huh? Okay. Well, it doesn't. If you think that UConn is going to win, then you have to ask yourself, is it worth investing in UConn to win? Well, let's take a look at it. UConn is 1.60x, 61% being traded, right? 1.60x. That means it's 60 cents on your dollar. Are you willing to risk $1 to get 60 cents? This is the situation where if you are in love with the overwhelming favorite to win it, why not put something heavy on UConn, 1,000 units, because you know you're going to get 600 units back, right? Why not put 1,000 units on it because you know you're going to get 600 units back? Like, that seems to be the play. The interesting part about it is they've got 2 chances to lose. Now, they've handled business. They haven't played South Carolina this year. So we don't know how it's going to go, but they've played Texas and they handled Texas easily. And guess what? Texas has beat South Carolina twice this year. So it's pretty easy to say that if UConn has to face South Carolina, it's not like UConn's not going to be able to handle what South Carolina brings to the table. Can South Carolina beat UConn? Absolutely. Is it an uphill battle? Absolutely. And that's just the semifinal. They then, whoever wins that out of UConn and South Carolina, let's say if it's UConn, they have to then beat Texas again. And they have to be able to defeat UCLA, who has the 6'7" monster out there, who's been great all season and who's quite a good dancer. I think that if you believe UConn is just going to run roughshod over this, then put heavy units on UConn, invest heavy units on UConn, and get 60% on the dollar, or 60 cents on your dollar, and reap in that reward. That makes a lot of sense. I don't know if South Carolina, like, they have a chance, but is it worth it? They're trading at 12%, right? That means you're getting $6.85 for every dollar you invest if they win it all. Even if they beat UConn, they might not be the underdog, but they've lost to Texas 2 out of the 3 times that they played this year. How can you be confident? Right? How can you be confident? So, to me, if you were going to bet on anyone other than UConn, bet on Texas. Because if you bet on Texas or you bet on UCLA, right, you know that Texas has already beat one of the other teams, maybe the other one. But to me, this is the UConn's to lose. So either you stay away from it altogether, or you roll with UConn, you invest in UConn, and you bring back 60 cents on your dollar. Let's go to the next question. The next question says, who wins the college basketball crown? If you don't know, the college basketball crown, or CBC, is a tournament that has been created that is there to incentivize teams to play postseason games other than the NCAA tournament. There's a $500,000 purse on the line. The winning team, I believe, gets $4,000, and the losing team, or $400,000, and the losing team gets $100,000, or something like that, right? There are 8 teams in this tournament that starts April 1st and goes through the weekend. Oklahoma is the favorite. They are trading at 41%. Baylor is second, trading at 22%. Creighton at 20%. Minnesota at 13%, Stanford at 10%, West Virginia at 8%, Colorado at 4%, and Rutgers at 3%. Now, the cool thing about this is it's in Las Vegas, and these players are going to play hard. Why? Because there's cold, hard cash involved, right? There's cold, hard cash. This isn't money that goes into the program. This is money that goes directly to the NIL for the players. I'm assuming, right? I'm assuming it goes. Who knows what? Because it's always shady dealings when it comes to college sports. But I'm assuming. So if that's the case, then everyone is incentivized to play who isn't going to the league. Now, what I would tell you to do is to go through these rosters, see which players are playing, see if there are players that are getting ready for the league, and avoid those teams. Avoid those teams because those teams are going to be the ones that get you beat. You want the teams that are going to be locked in and ready to go. I think Baylor at 4.3 on 1x, meaning you get $3.31 for your dollar. Like, I think that's a nice return, right? Minnesota, I believe they got rid of their basketball coach. Could have. West Virginia, who knows what's going on in West Virginia all the time. Creighton is a team that's always solid, but not their greatest season. Stanford, not really ready this year. Colorado is interesting because Colorado plays a brand of basketball that could catch people off guard. They can get up and down on you. Rutgers, always interesting, but I just don't think they've got enough bullets in the gun this year. But Baylor at 4.31, again, $3.31. That is where I would invest, getting back almost 3.5 to 1 on my money. I like that for my investment. Oklahoma only getting 1.4, $1.40 for every dollar. To me, that's not enough for me to want to invest in that, right? And so I'm going to go Baylor. Drew's out there. We know he's going to have those guys playing hard. You know they're going to play tough defense, or at least try to play tough defense. They know how to put the ball in the cup. That is the way that I would go in this tournament. The CBC, I love it. I'm waiting for them to up the money to start getting some of those teams that would possibly take an NIT berth to say, man, screw the NIT. We're going to go to the CBC. That's what I want to see. Let's check out the next question. And the question is, who wins the men's NIT? Again, all of these postseason tournaments are going on right now. The men's NIT has been going on for some weeks now. It usually runs concurrent with the NCAA tournament. That's the case once again this year. There are only, I believe, 4 teams left. They're in the semifinals. Auburn is the favorite, 2.14x. Trading at 45%. New Mexico trading at 34%. Tulsa trading at 16%. And Illinois State trading at 7%. These are the 4 teams left. It doesn't matter where you're playing. You could be on Kalshi or on Poly Market. You could even be on, Robinhood or DraftKings. It doesn't matter, right? You want to find whatever market you could get the best value for, and that's where you want to invest. But just looking at these teams right now, it's clear. Like Auburn should be the favorite. New Mexico should be second, because those teams are teams that have been playing top-notch competition all season. New Mexico better than what you think. The value is, how did Illinois State get to the Final Four, right? Like, if you're just talking about the NIT, you got to be asking yourself the question, like, man, what did they do? How did they get to the Final Four? Who did they go through? Who did they beat in order to get to the Final Four? Because that matters, right? That matters. Well, they took out a really good Dayton team, right? They took out a really good Dayton team, a Dayton team that's played hard all season. They beat Wake Forest by 3 points, outscored them, right? Again, a Wake Forest team, an 18-win Wake Forest team that was probably close to the bubble, right? Like a Dayton team that was a 25-win team. It makes you wonder, like, watching them beat a Kent State team, a 24-win team, by 21 points. It just makes you wonder, with a team like Illinois State and their roster, right? When you get the opportunity to have young legs mixed with some veteran leadership, what does it do for you? They've got 4 seniors on their team. They've got 4 juniors on their team. They've got a couple sophomores, and then you sprinkle in 4 freshmen, right? That's a nice mix in the gumbo. And then they've got all of these interchangeable parts: 6'5" guards, 6'6" guards, 6'9" forwards. Like, nothing crazy. They're playing a game. They got a couple big men, right? They got 2 6'10" people. But, like, they're playing a game that a lot of these teams haven't seen. When you look at their minutes on their roster, they've got six players who average over 22 minutes a game. And they got 6 players who average over 22 minutes a game. They've got 5 players who average over 9 points a game. Like, that's how you win when you don't have the elite level number 1 guy. And remember, all of these guys, they're playing not just to win the NIT. They're playing so that they can impress somebody who might want to come pluck them away and bring them to a Power 4 conference next year. They're playing so that they could go back to their coach and possibly ask for more NIL money. Like, that's what we're seeing. It's an interesting thing, but if you look at it, the 13.4x, remember what I told you, anytime you're down here, they have to win 2 games in order to win it all. That is when I like to start taking the shots, right? I think if you want to put some heavy investment into Auburn, because they're clearly the class, right, of the NIT, cool. Do they want to win this? The jumpstart is that coaching staff trying to fight to remain relevant because they didn't have to earn that job? Yeah, that's what they're doing. And so, like, from there, we want to make sure that that's there. But I might put an investment into Auburn, but then also invest a little bit in Illinois, because $10 is going to bring me a $10 investment is going to bring me back 12.5 on my money. 12.5x on my money. I like that. So while I think Auburn will win it, there's no money in it unless you're just trying to double up, right? There's money in Illinois State. That's where I would invest, along with investing in the top, because then I at least make my money back that I invested in the bottom. Let's get to the last question of the day. And to no surprise, the last question of the day, who will win the NCAA tournament? I make sure that you check out my make sure you check out the newsletter tomorrow. I go a little bit more in depth into the NCAA tournament and the Final Four teams and what I like and why I like it and what's been going on and why March is always so mad. Like we'll talk. You'll see more of that in the in that regard. But if we're just talking about the NCAA tournament, to me, I'm always struck by the obvious, right? I'm always struck by the obvious. There are teams that are playing well, right? There are teams that are playing well. There are teams that are playing good enough to win. And playing well enough to win it all. That's Arizona and Michigan. Both of them have been running roughshod over the competition. Shout out to UConn for being miraculously here. Shout out to Illinois for having everything fall their way so that they can be here. But if we're keeping it a bean, right? If we're being honest, and that's what we should be doing, if we're being honest, neither one of those guys would be the favorite against either Arizona or Michigan. So now we're talking about a dead heat. Both of those teams are trading at 34%. I think it comes down to Arizona and Michigan. Whoever wins that game in the semifinal, that's the team that's winning it all. And I just think that Arizona's too deep. I think that they're going to be able to clip Michigan and then go on to handle whomever ends up there, Illinois or UConn, by double digits. Like, I don't think it'll be close. So both of those teams trading at 34%, that means you're getting 1.81 or $1.81 for every dollar you invest. I'm going to tell you the way that I would play these markets. I would play them individually, right? I would play them individually. So I would go over to the Arizona-Michigan game, right? Where it's Arizona minus 2.5, right? And Arizona minus 2.5 is 2.29x. So you're getting 1.29 return on your dollar, right? Michigan is 1.5, you get 1.93 on your dollar. Either way you're going to be able to double up. So whoever you like, and I said I like Arizona. Arizona, double up because they're deep. They double up and then take where that investment that you doubled up your money with and invest it on Arizona by 10 or by 8 or something that is at least 3 point something X, to where you're getting 2-to-1 back on your money. You're getting $2 for every $1 you invest. So you're walking home with 3. That's what that means. That's the way I would play it. I think Arizona wins it all. I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan wins it. Again, that's a coin flip. But what's not a coin flip is whoever gets out of that semifinal, they are winning it all. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on Fade to Field. As always, I am Coach Gene Clemons, a.k.a. Arumula. Make sure that you go over to our newsletter on Substack. Subscribe to the newsletter so you get that every day. And then go over to predictionmarketpicks.com. That is the home of the 7 oracles. That is our website where you can see everything. Join in, see our plays of the day, see all of the podcasts that we have all in one place. Fade to Field, you can check it out there. You can check out the antenna there on Thursdays. You can check out our newsletters Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. the play of the day every single morning, and always surprises, surprises, surprises. Come along. I appreciate it. For Fade to Field, Coach Gene Clemons, and my co-host Chris James CJ, who's not here today. We'll see you all next time.